Hey guys, welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you've seen this face before. I'm gonna do my little dancey dance every time I say that now. Today's video is going to be another TikTok compilation where I react to different types of shapeshifter stories. Today's shapeshifter stories are going to be from different Native American tribes, Caribbean stories, America's stories as well, because I felt like that would be a little bit more fun than just hyper focusing on one kind. I really don't have much of an intro to do today. If that sounds like something you would like to get into, then just keep watching.
In honor of spooky season, I just want to share a little something that happened to me when I was younger. I was about 17 years old, and this was right around the time H1N1 hit, and everyone was having to be vaccinated. Anyways, I had gotten sick, like really sick. So my family had no choice but to quarantine me at home. My family went to all go stay with another relative on reserve here. So I was home by myself alone here. And I had, made my little bed on the couch. The couch was up against the front window. I was watching TV until I fell asleep. It must have been about 3 a.m., maybe a little after 3 a.m. And I was dead asleep. All of a sudden, in my dream, I heard what sounded like my brother say my name very clearly in my ear, Ebony. And I jolted up from my sleep, sat up, and I was facing the TV. And I was waiting because I thought maybe he, showed up to come grab something from the house or come check on me. There was nobody in the home. Mind you, that window was still open and was behind me. And I heard movement. So I very cautiously and ever so fucking slowly turned around, and I came face to face with what looked like a dog. Mind you, this dog, it looked very mangy, like it had more skin than it did have fur. And its fur was like really straggly and stringy, and it just looked like it was starving. And I didn't realize like I was holding my breath the whole time when I was looking at it. It wasn't moving. I wasn't moving. Then all of a sudden I seen it start taking a breath in. And when it did that, I thought I was asleep. So I laid back down on the couch. Like I just slowly laid back down. And all of a sudden I heard movement. And I knew right then and there I was not fucking asleep. I sat up, looked out the window, and it had already moved away from the window from looking at me. And this thing walked away on 2 feet, on its 2 back legs. It walked away from the window through the archway in my tree line. And it took me about a minute to register what I just saw. That this dog walked away like a man. And I quickly closed the window. I got up, closed the blinds, made sure everything was locked, made sure all the windows were locked. And I went and sat in my cook'em's room. I will never forget that day. I don't know what it was, and whatever woke me from my sleep, I'm thankful for whatever woke me from my sleep, because that thing was looking right at me in my sleep while I was sleeping.
Oh no. That would have been it for me. Absolutely not. It walking away on 2 feet? No. Absolutely not. That is so creepy. Okay. Let's get into another story.
Step aside, flesh pedestrians, because down here in South Carolina there is a different kind of shape-shifting entity walking around right now, and I have found a story in the wild. When I say in the wild, I mean on the Book of Faces in a random rural-ish community group. Posted anonymously, not in a paranormal group. This person's kind of freaked out. Has anyone driven down blank road in blank area and seen anything paranormal? My boyfriend and I were driving and stopped because we saw what appeared to be an injured dog. His legs and hips looked broken and bent backwards, and I thought maybe he got hit by a car and someone left the poor baby on the side of the road to die. I have a very big heart for animals. and will do whatever I can to help them. So we turned around in a driveway and came back driving up, and the dog was laying facing a different direction. Still laying down in the same position though, which I thought was really strange. My boyfriend pulls the car over, and as I do, he hunched his back and morphed into some creature and then just disappeared. The dog, not the boyfriend, if that needed clarification. It was the craziest thing I have ever seen. I'd called my mom and told her I might be bringing a baby home and need help with him, and I was on the phone with her when the dog morphed and vanished. It gave such a negative energy off, and I got really upset and couldn't shake the feeling of something really off about the whole thing. The anonymous poster says, before you ask, no, I was not drinking or on any drugs. I was just coming home from a fireworks show. Just curious if anyone else has had any similar experiences on that road or in that general area. Somebody else posted, it's a Plat-Eye. And I said, oh my God, it is. Now, side note, I have also heard that pronounced Plat-Eye, so I'm not sure which one is correct. Y'all correct me if you know. But what do you think that was? Tell me what you think.
So after watching that video, I was like, what the hell is a Plat-Eye? I've never heard of that before. So I went on TikTok search and found a video where somebody is explaining what that truly is. And it is terrifying. Let's get into it.
Hey, my loves, you ready for another story? However, with this one, we're going to get a little dark here. Actually, not a little, a whole lot of dark. So let's see how you like this one now. Today, we're going to be talking about a certain haint called a Plat-Eye. And trust me, this is one dark spirit you do not want to come across, especially at night. Now, there's many interpretations of what a Plat-Eye is. Alright? Some say it's a shape-shifting disembodied spirit with bloodshot red eyes and able to turn into any animal just to fool you, to get you. Granted, with that interpretation, they say that you can always tell if it's a Plat-Eye or not because there's always something off about that animal. It's twisted or mangled in some way, shape, or form, acting funny. But this is the version of Plat-Eyes I grew up with. Back during the time of the Civil War, wealthy slave owners was worried about their fortunes being taken, so they would go to dark woods, marshes, swamp areas, obscure places in the woods to bury their fortunes in the ground, and who of course dug those holes so their fortune could be buried? Black folk. To keep the location of their fortune secret, to ensure no one goes back to it, they would behead and kill the poor black folk who dug that hole for them and bury them with it. Unmarked grave. And this is where the problems begin. A vengeful, unrested spirit. Twisted, mangled, cannot distinguish between who is kin and who is not. Dare you go try to look for that buried treasure. Dare you come around in their area. Honey, that would be the last of anyone sees of you because they will drag you back to that grave. And you'll become an unmarked grave yourself. There is no way to eradicate, tame, or even elevate these spirits. None. There are a couple of ways to ward it off. Some say they dislike foul odors, which is a certain mixture. Some say you have to run across a body of water because they can't cross it. Others say you have to put down a couple of drops of whiskey and they will be forced to placate themselves because of the smell of the whiskey. Either way, be mindful of where you walk at night. Be mindful of the area in which you're in. If you see movement in the dark, seen as if someone is walking funny or even walking a little beheaded or disheveled, honey, you're in the presence of a Plat-Eye. And you need to get out quick before that's the last anyone ever sees of you, you hear?
See, that is just completely horrifying. Like, the original video was a little creepy, but with that backstory given into it, like, it's horrifying and heartbreaking and really deep. Next, this story is pretty long, so that's why I'm gonna go ahead and put it in on like earlier in the video than like later.
Here I go to bed myself. What the fuck is that?
Y'all done brought me out of retirement in story time. First of all, I hate the fact that my homegirl sent me this because she's like, oh, you're Haitian Creole. How do you pronounce this? My dumb ass didn't even think about it until after I said Lougawou. Then it dawned on me and I'm like, girl, why you sent me this? Then, as if not to offend me, she asked me, have I ever encountered one? Girl, yes. And this is why it's story time. So for all of the Haitians, all of the Creoles, all of the mutts like me who are Haitian Creole, or if you ever came from Pan-African descent, if you were descent from an islander, or hell, if you even lived in Louisiana, you know what a Lougawou is. In the Appalachia or just Native American, I think that they call them like skinwalkers. A Lougawou is a shapeshifter. Some believe that it's a witch and they take babies and children's souls and they deteriorate very rapidly. Now we get to the story time. Picture it. It is in Corsicana, Texas, Navarre County. So with me already saying it, you know that in the country, in rural areas of Texas, when it's dark, baby, it is dark. We were brought up as Haitian Creole children to know that in the dark, there are certain things you don't do. 1, if you hear somebody call your name in the dark, no you didn't. 2, never whistle. And 3, if somebody is trying to have a conversation with you in the dark, you better not respond. So me and my favorite boy cousin Brandon, I mentioned him on my TikTok before. This is after a family reunion. So some people went back to the city or wherever they came from. And we're at our favorite Uncle Bubba's house and we're chilling. Now, Uncle Bubba has a lot of acreage in Navarre County, okay? Little bitty house on a whole bunch of acres. Me, him, and some of our other distant cousins or whatever, we decided we was going to have a foot race. My cousin Brandon, being 4 years my senior and a sore fucking loser, decided, no, we're going to do it again. All the other cousins is like, man, nah, we going in the house. It's hot out here. This fool took off his shoes because he didn't want to get them messed up. Now, my auntie had bought him some brand new Reeboks, okay, that she had on layaway, so he knew he better not crease them, get them dirty, not even scuff them. I had on sandals, so I was perfectly fine. Now it's getting dark. We need to go in the house. It was already spooky enough to be at Uncle Bubba's house because, like I said, little house, a lot of land. I don't want to be outside in the dark. I don't even like the dark. This fool can't find his shoes. And who does he commission to help him find them brand new Reeboks? Now, we done walked up and down the train tracks near Uncle Bubba's house, which we was never supposed to do because, for whatever reason, we done walked up and down the street. Now we have to go into the field across the street from Uncle Bubba's house, which that land he owned as well. At this point, we're looking and we're about a whole city block away from the house. Now, mathematically speaking, at 10 years old, I'm like, wait a minute, ain't no way that you took off both of them shoes and threw them this daggone far into the field. No, sir. I get fed up. I'm tired. I'm gonna walk back to the house because you're just gonna have to take that whooping from Annie, okay? We are past dusk. The sun is below the land. It is just about dark enough for us not to be able to see where the hell we going. Oh, he's huffing and puffing walking behind me, and all of a sudden we hear while he's talking, come here. We freeze. We look at each other. This fool asked me, what did you say? Boy, I am standing right next to you. Ain't you serious? We keep on walking, but this time we pick up the motherfucking pace, okay? Because when the sun was up, I ain't seen nobody come over here. It was just us. Now, we city kids, so we got a lot of street smart. I mean, we are power walking it, okay? All we was missing was a fanny pack. Then we hear, hey, Brandon. We both freeze again because I know goddamn well that was not my cousin Ashley. Ashley is his sister, okay? But it sounded exactly like her. She got heat sick earlier on in the day, so she was in the house taking a nap, and she had took some Dramamine for like nausea or whatever, so we knew she wasn't there. When I say I took off in a full motherfucking sprint toward that house, no matter how many times I raced in that day, legs hurt, thighs hurt, all that sweaty, huffing and puffing, screaming for my mama, baby, I was gone. My job, my cousin at this time is 14. He got a good 50, 60 pounds on me. He done played defensive tackle in football all his motherfucking life. So y'all can imagine how bulked up he is at 14. I get to the edge of the field at the street and I turn and I see the silhouette of my cousin and he's just standing there and I'm hollering, Brandon! All of a sudden, my cousin does this zigzag motion and sprints toward me and I'm screaming for my mama. But not before I saw the figure standing behind him that lowered into the motherfucking field. When this fool get to the street, he tell me, we ain't gonna tell nobody what just happened. But how you gonna explain your sneakers missing to Amy? Oh, I'm telling, and I'm telling the whole truth. So instead of the day being over or whatever, and I'm keeping my mouth shut about this because this is my favorite boy cousin, we decide we finna go to Cousin Ursha's house. Now, Cousin Ursha lives in Jacksonville. No problem. We hop in the car. We go to Jacksonville. Adults are pouring up drinks, everything else. We're in the kids' room. We're hopping off of bunk beds, everything else. Almost forgot about what just happened until Cousin Kayla gets up off the bed and she has this blank stare at her window. Mind y'all, it's dark as shit outside. We all stop playing and we like, girl, what's wrong with you? She moves her curtain and she's like, cut off the lights, cut off the lights. Mind y'all, we see the kids, so we like, girl, why didn't you cut off the lights before you moved the curtain? Whomever is outside can see you. Still, we cut off the lights. We see a human shape outside her window. Now, I don't know if y'all got country kin like mine, but Cousin Ursha, Cousin Kayla's mama, she stay stockpiled, if you know what I mean. Ain't nobody foolish enough to come on her land. We thinking it's just somebody playing until the figure drops like cloth in front of the window. At this point, we all hollering and screaming. It's like 6 kids in Kayla's room. We go running into the family room. All the adults stop drinking, stop partying. They go outside with flashlights and guns, and they're going to check who the hell is on the property. Ain't nobody on the property. Gets worse. We decide we gonna spend the night in case there is an imminent threat. Y'all, there are 5 adults in the living room, 6 kids in Kayla's room. Ain't no imminent threat here, or so we thought. This where shit get wild. Now, it's 2 kids on the floor. I don't remember who was on the floor, but I distinctively remember Cousin Dwayne and Cousin Brandon on the bottom bunk. Me, Kayla, and Ashley, we were on the top bunk. And one of the teenagers or whatever, I counted them as an adult, but whatever. They're on the floor with another one of our cousins. I can't remember which cousin was on the floor, but whatever. We hear rustling. And we're like, man, stop that. It's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, stop. Don't do that. All of a sudden, Cousin Dwayne goes, stop pulling my leg. Cousin Brandon wakes up and is like, bro, I ain't pulling your leg at all. Which was true, because Cousin Brandon was laying on his side. Cousin Dwayne was laying, like, on his back. But Cousin Brandon is not facing Dwayne. So how am I pulling your leg and I'm not even facing you? So, of course, the teenager in the room, she wakes up. She's like, y'all stop playing. Out of nowhere, in the middle of her saying playing, we hear, come here. Me and Ashley raised the fuck up off that top bunk. Like, did y'all hear that? Only person still asleep is Kayla. How the hell Kayla slept through all of this? We don't know. We hear it again, and it's louder, and it sounds like it's coming from outside that window. So the teenager in the room says, I'll be right back. We can hear my auntie having a conversation with somebody in the living room, and the TV is still on, so we know they ain't sleep, even though they jicky. This motherfucker crawls out the room, goes to get an adult. Floodlights come on outside the room. Ain't nobody there. All I could hear was my Creole auntie going, oh, hell no, we going back to the city. Now, here we are at 3 o'clock in the morning, piling up in my mama's Lumina. Chevy Lumina, okay? Yes, I just dated us. And we headed back to Dallas because all of that was too much. But we, as Haitian and Creole children, knew what the Lougawou wanted. And it wanted us. And it wanted our spirit. It wanted our livelihood. And it just wasn't gonna get it.
They did the right thing and got the fuck out of there because that is crazy. That was absolutely too much. So in my last video, I talked more about Lougawous, and I meant to add this next video I'm about to play in that video. I just completely forgot about it. So I'm actually going to show this video here. And this footage that you're about to see is supposedly a Lougawou doing its little thingy thing on a baby. And if this is real footage, this is horrifying. Like, I don't think we should be seeing this if this is real footage, not gonna lie, because, like, yikes. But maybe we should be seeing it to bring awareness? I don't even know.
Okay, now before I show y'all this video, I need to let y'all know that it's in Creole, and I found it from this other creator, but it was just crazy how it was there, and I had to share it with you guys. I'm gonna try the best that I could to translate what they're saying in the video. I tried to find the video alone, but I couldn't. So I'm just gonna show y'all, you know, with the other person that did the video. Alright, so you're gonna see it appear. Here it is. His thing right now is to steal the soul of somebody's newborn baby. Y'all know how I be telling y'all about newborn babies, to protect y'all newborn babies. There he goes. He's walking backwards. And this is Haiti. Like, this house is in Haiti. Disappears. Mind you, security systems are starting to be new in Haiti right now, so I bet he didn't expect to be caught on camera. And you'll see him reappear with the baby in his hand. Yep, there he is. Yep. He has the baby. He currently has the baby right now. Yep, and he's walking backwards. If you know, you know. He's gonna put the baby right next to that thing he flew into. Why do y'all think? I be telling y'all, the brooms and stuff like that y'all see in movies, they come from somewhere. Look, he puts the baby down, and he's gonna start doing his ritual. He started. Yep, he started. Y'all see that? Yep, there you go. It's funny because he kind of looks like he's crib walking, but it's all part of the ritual. There he goes. And the guy talking, he's saying, in the morning, you're gonna see that your baby's sick and you don't know what's wrong with your baby. Whole time, this is what happened the night before. And the thing is, that baby is still next to that mom right now. There you go. He's doing all his rituals. You see that? You see that? Yep. He's about to come. Yep. There he goes. He's gonna walk backwards again. Yep. And now the baby's soul is gone. And just like that, you lost your baby. Look, he's gonna disappear. He's gonna finish his ritual.
Like, seeing somebody disappear over and over again, like, this is real footage and not edited in any type of way, is absolutely crazy. Just crazy. And that's why I needed to show you guys that, because, like, what the fuck?
Let's read one of your weird stories. This happened to me and my ex-girlfriend. As the subject line says, I do not speak the name, and for good reason. So for this story, I will not put the name of it that we suspected it was, just to keep you safe and anyone else. Okay, now I'm like super intrigued. I live in Utah, about an hour outside of Salt Lake City. We were bored and looking for something fun to do and decided to go digging for geodes. It was summer and quite hot out. We have an area where as long as you don't interfere with staked claims, you can go dig for your own. Well, that's freaking cool. I want to go dig for stuff. The area is mostly desert here with softer ground. We loaded up the car with shovels, water, and my hunting rifle. You never knew what could happen, and I wanted to possibly hunt some of the rabbit out. As we were driving, she was uneasy. She couldn't explain it, but insisted that we continue. Once we turned off the highway and out into Tooele County. Did I say that right? It's not very urban there, at least at the time it wasn't. I haven't gone back to see. It was early morning around 10 when we saw it first. It was a lone antelope walking the same direction we were driving, but a good distance into the brush. We found it very strange. While true, sometimes they get separated and have to be alone, but there were no other antelope around. Something I should add is my ex is of Navajo descent and is very in tune with her ancestry. She again got very uneasy, but when I asked, she didn't want to go back. She wanted her own crystal for jewelry, so we kept going until it was out of our mind. We had been digging all day and we were hot and had a few good geodes in our trunk. Being hot and tired, I wasn't in the right state of mind to properly turn the car around and we got stuck in the sand. Being young and frankly dumb, come, I locked the keys in the still running car. Oh my God, I literally have done that like 4 times. We only had our jug of water and our shovel outside of the car. The car was low on gas at this point, and we knew we might be stuck out there all night. I couldn't break any of the windows to get back inside of it. The sun was setting and I had to make a decision. I used the shovel to pry open my trunk and try to get in through the trunk. It didn't work, but I was able to get my rifle. The sky was darker, maybe an hour from setting, when we smelt it. It was foul, like bad hamburger meat that sat out too long. The hair standing up on my neck. Oh, that's never good. Rancid smells are normally so evil. She was looking at me, facing away from the trail we needed to leave on. She was white, and her breath was rapid. She was muttering under her breath. That's when I saw it. That lone antelope was back, but it was wrong. Oh my God, is it an S-Walker? It was a good 100 yards away from us, but it was looking right at us. It was shaking violently, and the head was nodding in a way, mouth opening and closing like it was trying to speak. But it's an antelope. There's no way it could actually speak. It was large too, very large. The air was cold around us, and dread just filled me to the core. She wouldn't turn around, only looked at me, and I didn't look away from this animal. Its front legs were wrong, longer than they should be, and its back legs shorter than the front. It was off balance. It wouldn't look away from me. Oh my God, I have chills. I couldn't move. This wasn't an animal. I have never frozen by an animal before. I couldn't understand what I was seeing, and I couldn't get my mind to move and protect my girlfriend. It slowly tried to get closer, but it wasn't moving like an animal would. She whispered my name, and it got me to move. I lifted the rifle and pointed just over her shoulder and took the safety off. I told her to walk slowly to me and not turn around. Its focus was on me, not her. Friend, you are brave right now. I took a step sideways, and she, still facing away, was at my shoulder. I aimed up from the creature thing and fired a single shot. It didn't move. Do you mean like it hit it and it didn't move, or like you missed it and it was still there? Or wait, do you mean that you fired up like you fired a warning shot and it didn't move, like it wasn't scared by the warning shot? My hand was shaking, but it still came closer. Fear was so thick you could cut it. But I fired at it again, missing it, but I didn't want to piss it off, just scare it away. This time it turned away and slowly, in its weird prance, walked off. Oh my God, thank goodness. It was sunset now, and there was no way we were going to be stuck out there. I shot out the window in my car, and I got us out of the sand and to the trail. We couldn't see it anywhere. It was gone. The whole drive home, she mumbled prayers in a language she didn't actually know and had no recollection of saying anything that drive. What do you mean in a language she didn't know? It just like came to her, and she just was saying, she doesn't remember it? It was something like possessing her to protect you? To this day, I still see it clearly when I think back to it, and I just have to tell myself over and over, did you see it? No, I didn't. The paranormal happens to me all the time, but this is the first cryptid type encounter ever. I don't speak its name because I don't want it to remind me. It marked me somehow, I know it did. The focus was too intense on me and nothing else. I don't do anything outdoorsy anymore. No hikes, no gem hunting. I don't want to see it again. It's been 11 years.
Absolutely not. No, that is a horrifying experience.
Tell me a story about a time that you know that you saw something, but you don't ever tell this story because you know that no one would ever believe you. I don't think I've ever told this story before because I would sound like an insane person, but I know it happened. I want to be creeped out. I just watched the video of the girl, the Lyft driver in New Orleans, who says she picked up a vampire. I want more stories like that, but I'll tell you mine. When I was 7, my family was living in a suburb of Chicago, about 30 minutes southwest of the city. My parents were out. They went bowling every Friday night. So I know it was a Friday. Our babysitter, Maria, was over. She was a teenager, probably 16, 17 at the time, and my little sister was about 2. We lived in a split level. So my sister and Maria are downstairs, and I'm in the kitchen. I was looking out the back window, honestly, probably waiting for our little neighbor boy to come outside because I had a crush on him, and I was always running outside whenever I saw he would come out. But in our backyard, there was an apple tree, there was a lake, and then there was a fence separating our yard from the neighbor boy's house. It's dusk. The sun is pretty much set. And I see a black panther jump over the fence and come down, stand underneath the apple tree. It was so tall that its shoulders almost came up to the first set of branches. Jet black fur. And we had a house cat, so I know what the house cat size is in relation to this thing. This thing was easily 6 or 7 times the size of our cat. So I start calling for Maria, yelling at her to come up to the kitchen to see this black panther in our backyard. She was taking her time. My sister was crying and she was tending to her. I'm standing there mesmerized by this black panther, and it turns and it looks at me and it makes eye contact. And on its head, this thing was jet black, but on its head, it had a little patch of white fur just going right like this. And we just stare at each other for a good 5 seconds or so. I hear Maria stirring. She's coming into the kitchen, and as she's walking into the kitchen, the panther runs into the lake. I was like, there was a panther in our backyard. Maria's like, it was just a house cat. I'm like, no, it was a panther. Fast forward to later on that night, my parents still aren't home. I'm in bed. I hear a doorbell. It's probably close to like 11 o'clock because my parents were still out. They usually came home around like 1 in the morning. So naturally, I hear the doorbell ring. I get out of bed. I go to the top of the stairs and I see Maria answering the door. And I'm like creeping on the stairs and she lets this man in and he's wearing all black. He was like very pale. And I hear him tell her basically that he was a traveler who like lost his way and he needed to use our phone. It was the 90s, so people didn't have like cell phones easily accessible, so he just wanted to use like our landline. So Maria lets him in. He's using the phone. It's very muffled. I can't hear what he's saying. I like remember the conversation, but I don't. That's where mine and this girl's stories are similar. So after he makes his phone call, he's like turning to leave. He walks past the stairs. He looks up at me because I'm still sitting at the top of it. And I see on his head, he has a little patch of white hair in the same spot that the panther had. And he looks at Maria and he goes, thank you for your help. It's really easy to get lost in the shadows. And he leaves. Now this man shook me. Like I could not sleep that night. So when my parents got home, I was still awake in bed. I ran downstairs. I told them all about the panther. They chalked it up to an overactive imagination. And they were like, it was just a house cat. Like you're just letting your imagination get the best of you. And I told them about the man. They were pissed. They were fuming. They fired Maria for letting a strange man into our house, as they should have. But yeah, I don't know. I've looked into it. There have been tons of Black Panther sightings all over Illinois, close to Chicago, and yet the Department of Natural Resources maintains that there are no Black Panthers in Illinois. So yeah, stitch this or let me know in the comments your story because I know I'm not the only one. I have an update about the shapeshifter I saw in my backyard in the 1990s and it's crazy. When I posted this video originally, I thought it was just a panther and it was a coincidence and it was just a weird story that I thought nobody would ever believe me. But so many of you guys started commenting about how it was a shapeshifter and then I got a crazy email. If you don't want to hear this guy's story in the email, just skip to this part. I got this email this morning and it gave me chills. Okay, so this person emails me and they said, hey, I just heard about your Black Panther sighting in the Chicago suburbs back in the 90s and I couldn't believe it. Did this happen to be in Lansing at the lake near Potts Park? It was. I actually had a similar experience around the same time in the same area. I was a teenager at the time and living with my parents on the lake. I don't have TikTok. My ex-girlfriend from the time reached out on Facebook Messenger to send me your video. We haven't talked in years. I had to reach out to you to tell my story because my story is crazy similar. I was sitting in the yard by the lake with my then girlfriend when we noticed a shadowy figure moving along the shoreline. It wasn't quite nighttime, but dark enough where we couldn't see far into the distance. She pointed it out first and we initially thought it was a man, but the figure seemed to morph and shift, its form changing between a large dark beast or crouching man. It's hard to explain what it was as there aren't really words that would do it justice what we saw. Before I could really comprehend what I was seeing, the man-cat slipped silently into the water, vanishing without a trace. The air around me felt charged with an eerie energy, and I remember having a goosebumps and the hair on my arms was standing on end. It was one of the most unsettling and mysterious things I've ever witnessed. I haven't really told anyone about it because the entire time I just chalked it up to my mind playing tricks on me, and my then girlfriend and I convinced each other it was just a weird man going swimming. I don't really know. After that encounter, I sought out some answers and spoke to our old neighbor who lived near the lake. He was always kind of into weird stuff and spent a lot of time sitting in his yard and watching the water. He wasn't a professional, but he was a local historian of sorts and knew much about the area's lore. He told me about the legend of the shapeshifter that had roamed these lands for centuries. According to him, this being could take on various forms, often appearing as a panther, a wolf, or a man who could disappear into the water. The old man said the shapeshifter was believed to be a guardian of the area, sometimes a protector, and other times he'd show up when there was change coming. He said the last time he remembers somebody telling him about him showing up was when they built a new development of houses on the lake in the late 1980s. He advised me to always be cautious and trust my instincts when encountering such beings. He shared an anecdote about how the area was originally settled. Long before modern civilization took root, indigenous tribes lived here, coexisting with the land and its mystical inhabitants. They respected the shapeshifter, viewing it as a spirit of the earth. When the first European settlers arrived, they ignored the warnings and built too close to the sacred spots. Strange phenomena like animals and crops disappearing and eerie sightings bothered them until they learned to respect the land's ancient mysteries. The old man believed that the shapeshifter still watched over these lands, reminding those who live there to honor the past and tread carefully. And he says, I'm not sure what to make of it all, but I can't help but feel that our stories are connected in some way. Maybe there's a deeper mystery at play here. Stay safe out there and let me know if you hear anything else about the area from others. Best, Brand. So I'm like, there's no way. So I start Googling. The first thing I type in is Native American tribes in Lansing, Illinois, and this comes up. Through the center of Lansing, running east-west, is a 25-foot-high elongated ridge of sand and gravel deposits that was once a great prominent Indian trail that is now known as Ridge Road. Here's a map of the area, okay? So this was the lake. This is Ridge Road. So this is how far we are. So then I type in what native tribes lived in the area, and this tribe comes up. Oh my God. They did ceremonies to appease the underworld panther and maintain balance. There's a myth of the underworld panther. In my story, I talked about how the panther disappeared in the water, and look at this journal entry. You can pause to read this if you'd like. But yeah, the underwater panther is apparently a whole thing. So yeah, if you're from this area or you have your own shapeshifter story, please share because now I'm just going down this entire rabbit hole.
The first story was pretty unsettling, a little creepy, but with that follow-up, it got really creepy. And for people to have sightings of this thing over and over throughout the years is pretty crazy. Alright, I have one more shape-shifting video, and this one is another like native legend. Let's get into it.
So one time when I was like in middle school, one of my mom's friends was telling us a story that he had seen deer woman. He said he was driving, it was like almost dark and it was pouring rain, and he was driving on this road. It's like a small lonely road on our res, and he came across this woman. She was walking in this downpour, so he stopped and picked her up. She got in. He said she was soaking wet. Her hair was long and black. She was wearing a denim coat, and she had a purse with her. And he said, "Are you going to town?" And she nodded her head yes. And he said, "Man, aren't you cold?" And she nodded her head yes. And then after answering those two questions, she just kind of turns her head and just looks out the window. And he's trying to make conversation with her, like, you know, "What are you doing walking out here by yourself?" And she wouldn't answer. And this is a road where like there's hardly any houses. So he was kind of thinking, you know, that's odd that she's out here walking by herself in this rain. Well, he said, being a guy, you know, I had to check her out. So he said he looks over and he looks at her from head, you know, to toe. And he gets to her feet, and he said they were deer hooves. And he knew immediately who she was. So he slams on his brakes and he looks at her and he says, "Get out, I know what you are." And she turns and she looks at him. And he said she had these little tiny black choke cherry eyes. He said they looked really creepy. And he said she looks at him and then she turns back towards the door and she opens it and she jumps out. And he watches her run down into the ditch. And just that fast, she changes into a deer and she jumps over the fence. And he looks down to where her purse was, and it was a piece of wood. So he grabs it and he throws it out, and he reaches over and he closes the door and he hauls cheeks. He was like, "I've never been so scared in my life because I know what deer woman's capable of." And he said she was probably gonna take me out. And he said, to this day, I have never picked up a hitchhiker ever again. Yeah. So, tell me some of your deer woman or shape-shifting stories. I'd love to hear them.
Ooh, that story is so creepy. So, deer woman, there's stories of deer woman in multiple different tribes, kind of like the gist of deer woman that I'll give you, the story that I know, is that she's kind of like a protector to women and children, and then kind of like a terror against like men, especially men who have done wrong to women. But that is the version that I know, and actually that is all the videos that I have. But recently I've been kind of wanting to do another Native Legends video, so I have that written down and I will probably do that sometime soon. But yeah, you guys, I hope that you've enjoyed going over these shapeshifter stories with me. I've enjoyed them. Like, they were all so cool and so different, and we touched on tons of different types of shapeshifters. So yeah. If you have any video recommendations, like any topics you want me to go over, leave them in the comments or tag me in videos on TikTok and I will definitely check them out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.